What's up everyone, I'm Jake Trice and welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you guys how I create an Ableton Live default set with audio channels and creating default audio channels with effects already saved in them, as well as MIDI channels with MIDI effects already saved in them. We're going to be going over how to create your own return tracks. I'm going to show you a little reference track trick that I learned a couple of weeks ago, and in the end of this video I'm going to be showing you a little master track trick that I've been using for years and has saved me so much time when I'm sending out demos to people to work with. So when you first open up Ableton Live, this is pretty much what you get. You get one audio channel and one MIDI channel with nothing on them, and you get a couple of return tracks. I'm just going to start off by deleting these because we're going to be setting up our own custom ones in a little bit. But first off, I'm going to show you this little reference track trick that I learned, and it's a pretty easy thing to do, pretty powerful. So what you do on a Mac, it's Command T and Control T if you're working on a Windows PC to duplicate or create a new channels. And what you would do is press Command or Control R to rename them. I'm going to rename this one Reference 1. Press Tab. You can do that if you're going to continue renaming, and Shift Tab to go back. Reference 2, and then select the first reference channel. Hold down Shift, press on the second one, and then what you would do is go to Audio 2 in the in and out section and just click external out. If this section is not visible, it's visible right here in the corner. You just press in and out and it should be there. So what this does is that if you have reference tracks, and reference tracks are basically mixed tracks by your favorite artist, preferably in the genre that you're already working in, which you can input here, and then you can analyze the like the dynamics and the frequency spectrum of those tracks and try to mimic those in your own productions. Try to get as close as you can so they pretty much sound the same. And by putting this to external out here, what that means is that the sound goes directly to the sound card and is not going to be affected by the main or master channel here, meaning that if I were to put a reverb on here, which I don't recommend, the reverb on the master channel is not, the reference tracks are not going to be affected by the reverb being here. So now that you know how to create your reference tracks, let's go on to the next step, which is creating default audio channels and default MIDI channels with effects already saved inside the channels, which means that if you create a new audio channel or a new MIDI channel, they always load up with the same plugins inside of them. So in Ableton, it's a pretty straightforward thing to do to add plugins to your channels. Just let's start with the audio channel here. Let's start by putting an EQ8. Then let's put a compressor, and let's round this off by putting a utility here in the end. The reason that I like to have the utility here is because I'd rather be able to automate the gain knob here rather than automating the volume fader here, because if I then want to put the volume up overall, I'd rather be able to do that here without messing up the automation over here and just having the automation here on the gain knob. As for the MIDI, I tend to keep that pretty basic. I only put a pitch plugin on there because I like to have the option to be able to pitch up or down the MIDI channel as a whole, as instead of like having to, let's say like this would be my MIDI clip. Instead of having to do this for every single MIDI clip, I can just create my MIDI clips as they are and then just transposing them up and down here with the pitch plugin. And now that we've finished setting up our audio and MIDI with their plugins on, all we have to do to save these as default is right click here on the title and go to save default audio track. It's going to give you this window. If you've done this before, a default audio track already exists. Do you want to overwrite it? Simply click yes and do the same for the MIDI. Save as default MIDI track. A default MIDI track already exists. Do you want to overwrite it? Yes. And now that you know how to set up your audio and MIDI channels with their default plugins set up, let's go on to the next step and create some return tracks. Inside of Ableton Live, the way you would go on about setting up your return tracks, you can either just right click and click here on insert return track, or the keyboard shortcut, which is Command or Control Alt and T. And let's just put on a delay here. And let's put a reverb here before. Let's rename these tracks Command or Control and R, and reverb. and delay, it's already there. Now, as you can see, the delay here is set to 30%. We're going to put this up to 100. The reason for that being is that if I put it at 30%, let's say, I would not be getting the full effect if I'm going to be sending this to a return track. But if I have it at 100% wet, the full delay is going to be going through when I turn the dial on the reverb, on the delay. Like I say, if the reverb isn't 100%, it's going to be 100% wet when I drive the respective channel through that. A little fiddling here. I like to roll off a little bit of the bass. I tend to put the sync here on 4 and the ping pong off. Of course, you can do this any way you want. These are just guidelines, guys. And if you want to put any more like return tracks, we can just for the laugh of it, let's put a saturator here just for fun. And we can drive that 100% wet. And as you can see, we have one more dial here that we can use. Now that I've finished showing you how you can create your own return tracks, let's do this bonus thing that I talked to you about in the introduction. And this is a little mastering channel trick that I've been using for years, and it's saved me a whole lot of time when I'm sending out demos to my music friends. So let's hop over into Ableton and I'll show you how to do it. So for this master track trick that I told you guys about, be sure to be here on audio effects and go to the search bar and simply type in Punchy Dance. Gives you this one, Master Punchy Dance, which is an Ableton live rack, which is a master rack, but it's pretty cool and has saved me a lot of time when I'm sending out demos to my friends. I tend to put the gain of the bass down to 1, and as you can see, it has a lot of control. Bass gain, mid gain, the mid frequency here, high gain, a whole compressor section, has also like a parallel compression section right here, and a limiter. And when I put this on, what this tends to do when I mix my stuff, I tend to like mix around -6 dB, and then when I put this on, it bumps everything up to like 0.1 dB because of the limiter. And like I say, it's a really nice thing to be able to have to like get a sense of how everything is going to sound once you put like a mastering chain on it. And I send this out to my friends when they're like writing lyrics and stuff. I tend to put this on just so they can get like the sound to its maximum volume. But of course, when I am mastering, I tend to delete this and go through the process of putting like a whole separate mastering chain here. Now that we've gone over how you can set up your own reference tracks and route them accordingly, setting up your audio and MIDI tracks to their defaults with their plugins on, as well as doing the master trick and the return tracks, I'm going to show you how you can save this template. So every time you open up Ableton, this is what's going to load up. So now that you have this template here, how do you save it? Well, of course, it's a pretty basic thing to do. Go here up to File and simply click Save Live Set as Default Set. Now you can just name this whatever, and for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to name this Tutorial Default Set. And now if you were going to create some audio channels, of course, now they're going to show up with their plugins already set in, and that goes for the MIDI channels as well. Now, if you go to File and New Live Set, see what happens. You got the reference tracks right here routed to the sound card directly. You have your audio track here with the EQ, the compressor, and the utility, and the MIDI channel with the pitch plugin, and of course the Master Punchy Dance trick that I told you, and you got your reverb, delay, and the saturator already set up. That's it for now, guys. If you liked the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below. I'm Jake Trice. I'll see you guys in the next one.